Today we're talking all about what we're calling the perfect life trap. Are you stuck in it? A lot of people come to us because they believe they're missing something from their life, or they're striving for something, a perfection, a perfect life, or they're just simply asking why them. That, you know, I see people are all around me, they've got what I want, why not me? It's not fair. It's not fair, I deserve it. So if you recognize any of those concepts or beliefs, then this video is definitely going to be for you. So stay tuned, because we're going to go through three key life lessons and spiritual teachings on this topic. So you want to stay right to the end of the video. If you're new to our YouTube channel and want to know how Wu Wei wisdom can help you flow effortlessly through life, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notifications button to receive access to all our latest video updates. So David, to begin with, I believe I've got something missing in my life. It's like I've got a hole. If I just get the perfect relationship, or the perfect family setup, or a better career, or the home of my dreams, then I know I'm going to be happier. It will be perfect then, won't it?
Yes, it'd be wonderful for you. So, yes, thanks, Alex. This is the type of thing that I talk with my clients about. And this, for a lot of people, can be a very deep-seated belief. So remember the golden thread. You always have to go down and find the belief. The spiritual teaching is what we talk about, CCJ, comparing, criticizing, and being judgmental. So when people talk about, oh, I think I've got a hole inside of me, if you think about it, they know they haven't got a hole, of course. So what they're describing is a feeling. So remember the basics, separate the feelings from the thought. So this is the first thing. So identify this as a feeling, and then go down and consider why you are creating that feeling. You are the creator of your feelings. Don't forget, no one else creates a feeling in your body. That's your responsibility. No one else's. So separate the feeling from the thought and the belief. Go down, find the core belief. So the core belief is, wouldn't my life be better if this, that, this and the other happened? If I was like Joe Bloggs, if I was like this, if I'd have passed my exam, if we'd have got the house we wanted, if I'd have got the job I wanted, just something I did last week, if only I'd have got that job, my life would have been so much better. So pause, drop your shoulders. Is that true? Would it have been better? How do you know? Could have been worse. You could have got that job and hated the job, hated every moment of it. So this identifies, it gives you the characteristic of what I call your human-centered mind, HCM. Your human-centered mind is always striving, always wanting to go forward, always has this utopian, this perfect world. I call it the Disney world. You know, the Disney world where everyone's happy, everyone likes each other, bunny rabbits jump around the field, roses grow around your door, there's no confliction, there's no confrontation, everybody basically does what you think is right. And this is not the real world.
But society and the world we live in encourages us to strive, to better ourselves, to have more, to be more. Are you saying forget all that?
No, I'm saying identify what they're doing. We live in the West, particularly in a communalistic, consumerism, and they want you, they're telling you, you need this car, you need this house, you need this job, you need more money.
And it's like a treadmill, isn't it?
It's like a treadmill.
Because I know so many people think, okay, if I just get this, then it'll be okay. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be content. Then I'll be satisfied. So you work hard, you strive. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. It's almost like you're putting things on hold. Then you get there, but you don't get that sense of contentment. You don't get that sense of ease and relaxation.
And you know
you just
why?
Want the next thing.
Because you've already raised the bar.
It's like you want the full set.
Exactly.
It's like you want all the boxes ticked.
But you'll never get it, because as you reach your your projection of when you're going to be happy, you start to realize you're not going to be happy. So you think, well, let me raise the bar even higher. Let me bring my standards up. If I only had this amount of money, if I lived in a different part of the country, if my family was better, if this, if that. And what you're doing, and the spiritual lesson here, and this is why it is a spiritual lesson, you're looking externally to be fulfilled. You're looking for external things, in this particular instance, for material things to make you feel whole. And you're already whole. You are awesome. Why don't you just take and think about that simple thing I say in every video? If you could see in you what I can see in you, you are absolutely awesome. Never, ever, ever doubt yourself. That doesn't mean you're perfect, because no one's perfect. And what is perfect? So here's a translation of a Taoist saying. Perfection is a perception. Perfection is a perception. It's what you perceive. And that perception keeps changing. Whatever happens, think about all through your life. Oh, if only I passed my exams. Oh, if only I went to another school. Only if I got this job. Only if I got married. Only if I had children.
It's like
all
the treadmill.
Time. Absolutely.
It's like, so how do we step off that treadmill then?
Well, you have to do it. Here comes the Taoist teaching, the Wu Wei teaching. You can't change what you don't understand. So first of all, you have to understand it. So here's another Taoist teaching. Find it, own it, change it. And then you have to own it. This is what I'm really doing.
So you're finding the
core belief.
The core belief, which is until I get the perfect life or the perfect career or the perfect house or the perfect relationship, until I get that, I can't be happy, I can't be loved, I can't be respected. Exactly. So that's the core belief.
That's the core belief. Now people will say, oh, I know that doesn't sound right, David, but it means you've still got the core belief. You haven't owned it. So what you're always doing is looking externally for something else that's going to make you happy. And the spiritual lesson is that you have to make yourself happy, no one else. It's no one else's responsibility. It is your responsibility to make yourself happy. And if you're looking outside, and this is what a spiritual lesson is. So can I just speak on what a spiritual lesson is? Because somebody asked me this. What do you mean by a spiritual lesson? So a spiritual lesson is when your current belief system hits reality. And your current belief system hits reality and it doesn't work. And then you produce red lights. So if you've got a belief system that my life will be perfect when I reach this, when I do this, when I do that, your belief system is faulty. I'm sorry, it's not going to work.
And that belief, in whatever kind of shape or form or colour that it is personal to you, that is what creates the discontentment, dis-ease in your life.
Because what you're trying to do is to shoehorn your belief into reality. It doesn't work, and then you come up with this wonderful scheme. Well, let me change reality. If everything was the way that I thought it would be, wouldn't that be better? I call it, this is my word, compassionate dictator. You become a compassionate dictator. Now, if everybody just did what I would like them to do, of course this would be the best for them as well, wouldn't it? And it would be the best for me.
This is the second thing I was going to come on to. Never mind the material stuff, okay? So we've talked about the material stuff. I understand the concept of materialism. So yeah, I don't believe in that. However, David...
That's another word for but.
Life would be so much better, more peaceful, more just, more easy if everyone just did what I thought was right, because I know my beliefs are authentic. So why, there's so much injustice in the world, so much unfairness. Why don't people just follow what I think is right?
I have this.
Then it would be perfect.
I have this every day. I have this every day. But isn't this a Disney world? Isn't this utopian? As one of my clients, who I love this quote so much, I quote it as all the time. He said, "I don't want anything bad for anyone. I want everybody to be happy, because when they're happy, they're not going to bother me." And he said, "I'll be kind of just hierarchically superior." And then he said, "But of course, I wouldn't lord it over anybody." I just love that quote. So as long as you know I'm superior, I'm not going to lord it over you, but you have to do what I think is right because I know best. Mm-hmm. But that's not reality. And that's where your belief system hits reality. Mm-hmm. And then you create the red light, stress, anxiety, depression, whatever you want to call it. That's why I call it a red light, because your current belief system is not fit for purpose. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work. And you can try your hardest to change the universe and externally and other people, it won't work.
But David, I can't, if people don't treat me fairly, if people don't do what I think is the right thing to do, if there are injustices, are you just saying I have to lie back and accept that?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the opposite, is you firm up on your belief system, but try and understand your belief system is not everybody else's belief system. So this is why I always teaching is there's a big difference in confronting to confrontation. So if you hit somebody who has a different belief system, even if it's me, you write in and you say, "I disagree with what you've just said, David, and let me give my case, let me give you my reasoning and my evidence, and then you give me your reasoning and your evidence." What I'm saying is there is not one size fits all in belief system. Every person has a different belief system. First job, internally, straighten out your own belief system. Get your belief system clear and make sure it will stand up to rigor. Make sure if somebody questions it, you can come back with, "I believe this because."
Yeah.
Now, when you hit other people's, if they're close to you and they're meaningful for you, then challenge them. Ask them why they have that belief system. Try and find out their reasoning and their beliefs, the evidence why they hold that belief system.
But what about if it's just like stuff happening in the world that I fundamentally disagree with, which upsets me, upsets my world, and I feel like a sense of unrest, and I can't be satisfied when I know all these bad things are happening, and I can't talk to that person. It's just something else going on. What do I do then?
That's a great point. So you focus back onto yourself. You get clear on your belief system. You have to accept that we do not live. We do not live in a perfect world that's going to follow your criteria. But what you can do, you can make a difference. So why don't you follow your belief system and allow those ripples to spread out through your environment, through the universe? How you change the world is to change you. Yeah. Here's a great Taoist saying. How do you change the world? You change yourself. You firm in what you believe, and you have to accept, unfortunately, not everyone in the world is going to adhere and follow what you believe is to be right and correct, because they all got, remember what I said earlier, they all have a different perception. So their perception is totally different to yours. So be clear on your perception, and more importantly, the Wu Wei model is get the evidence, get the reasoning why you believe that, and make sure you do believe it. Make sure it's right for you, and then make sure that you're not hypocritical. And here's the point, isn't it? We're very good at telling other people what they should be doing. How about making sure that we're doing it? Yeah. And that's where it starts. It starts with you.
And I guess that comes down to when you find yourself being upset because people are not behaving how you want them to behave, and you're kind of judgmental and critical on them. And actually, you know, this thing of what annoys you about the other person tends to be what you do yourself, but you're not kind of owning up to it. So
exactly, you can see yourself in other people, you know, and you haven't taken full responsibility for yourself, and that's the problem with comparing. You see, that's CCJ. The problem is comparing is to make sure that you're honest and truthful and living your truth with integrity. Make sure what you say. So it's very easy to judge and compare other people, but you're living from your standards. And here's a question I often ask to my clients. Can you live up to your own standards?
Yeah. Consistently.
Because
it's very easy to jump on someone's mistake or a mistake as a one-off and say, that's it. In my eyes, they're dead to me, you know.
I'm going to cut them out now.
But actually, we all make mistakes.
They failed a test. I've set them a test and they didn't love me enough, or they didn't love me unconditionally.
So it's the human-centered mind setting these tests, creating these hurdles. So in a way, the human-centered mind creates the hurdles of, like we say, the hamster wheel or the ladder of, I've got to have a house, I've got to have a good relationship, I've got to have a stable family, I've got to have a great career. It's the human-centered mind that sets that tick sheet. It's the human-centered mind that sets the tick sheet of standards of, if they behaved like this, it would be okay. Or if this happened like this, it would be okay. Or the fact that I was treated like this once, that everything's now ruined, it can never be perfect. You know, this is the human-centered mind, the ego talking, really, isn't it?
It is, because the human-centered mind, or if you prefer the ego, but I prefer the human-centered mind, is not your enemy. It's not trying to screw up your life or make it hard for you. It's doing the opposite, really. It's trying to protect you, both physically and emotionally. The human-centered mind believes that there is this utopian state where everybody's happy. They all walk around like Truman's World. Remember that movie where everybody walks around and everybody's got a smile on their face, and we all have the same belief system. Doesn't matter where we are as in the world, and we all stick to it rigidly. The only problem is you can't live to that belief system because we're human, and perfection doesn't exist. Perfection is a perception. My perfection is not your perfection, and vice versa. So what can we do? All we can do is to be consistent, as Alex says. Try our best. Start with yourself. Listen to yourself. Get yourself sorted out so you live your truth. My terminology is walk the walk. Don't talk the talk. Walk the walk. What you say, make sure you're doing it first before you look at anyone else. So focus on living your life. And a lot of my clients say, oh, that's selfish, David. Then what is judging other people? That's too selfish. Look after yourself and live to your standards, and you'll find very quickly that you don't even reach your own standards. You keep hiring your bar. When you get close to your standard, you'll just hire it, and you'll think, one of my clients says something wonderful. She identified this, and she said, I see what you're saying. It's like a light, but I do this purposely, David. And I said, how so? She said, well, it's self-development. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, I'm lazy, really. And if I don't keep setting the bar higher, I'll be lazy and I'll never do anything.
But on that, David, how do we know the difference between wanting more, wanting to better ourselves authentically? Because I believe we are here to learn, to grow, to thrive and transform. How do we get the balance right? How do we find the Wu Wei between being on that trajectory of personal growth, authentic personal growth, but not letting the human-centered mind step in and make it like a constantly striving, wanting more, wanting to improve more, not being satisfied with yourself or your life? How do we find the balance?
Okay, so this comes back to something we've spoke about several times. The Chinese call it yi, Y-I, intention. You clear your intention. Your intention is not governed by what other people are doing. what you and how you want to live your life. And that could be anything. You know, whatever you want to be. It doesn't have to be living in a big house, driving a big car, because once you're doing that, you've got to ask yourself, why do I want this bigger car? Yeah. Why do I want to live in this house?
Is it
what
for
will
status
that do for
or
me?
respect
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
prestige?
Exactly. So the ye, your intention, is your potential. What are you here for? What is the most important thing for you? I can remember a Taoist monk once said, and it wasn't me that asked the question, it was somebody else as in the audience. They asked him this question, and they said, Master, what's the most important thing in your life? And he thought for a moment, and he said, imagine you're on your deathbed and you've got 15 seconds to live. What do you think about? And that's the most important thing in your life. Now, will you be thinking about your car, your house, how much money you got in the bank? What will you be thinking about in those last 15 seconds? And so you see that when you start to compare yourself and criticize yourself, your human-centered mind has taken over and you've moved away from really what's truthful to you, living your truth, living with a clarity, living with integrity, saying what you mean and backing it up by why you get there, living with that clarity of honesty. And this is what I mean by Shen or spirituality, living that truthfully. And if somebody disagrees with you, hey, they might have a point. Listen to what they've got to say. They might give you an insight. Listen and back it up with your reasoning and your evidence.
And I think that question is very powerful. You know, this deathbed question about what's important. And I believe that it's like we have what we need, the perfect life in the here and now, you know, and that's a fact. It's not, the perfect life is not to be found in the future. Of course, we go through tough times and challenges and ups and downs.
We should go through.
We should do. That's part of the journey. But the golden years are not found in retirement or when the kids grow up and leave home and you've got more free time, or when you've got an extra X thousands of pounds or dollars sitting in the bank. The golden years, the perfect life, contentment, satisfaction is now. It can be found now, or it is now. If only your perception, if only you kind of tampered down the human-centered mind and allowed the Shen to kind of tell you that, really. That's
well explained, Alex, because the human-centered mind will never be satisfied. It will always be looking for something else. And it just reminded me, about 2 months ago, I was sitting with a gentleman who was, I think, early 40s, and he came to me because he was worried that his pension pot is not going to be big enough when he was 65. That's nearly 25 years ahead of him. How do you know you're even going to be alive? No, I'm not saying you don't plan for your future, of course. But to sit and worry what's going to happen 25 years ahead, is that balanced? Is that looking after your potential, as Alex says? Is that living in this golden moment? All we have is the now. All we have is right now. People laugh when I look in the camera like this and say, you are awesome. I absolutely believe with you. When I say that to you now, what does that feel like? Do you go, oh yeah, that's not me, or you're just talking rubbish, or it's going over my head?
Maybe in 5 years' time when I've got X, Y, and Z and sorted my life out.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm having trouble with work and I've fallen out with my friend. I'm not awesome now. You are awesome. Those difficulties that Alex just mentioned, we will always have that. You can't stop that happening. This is when I talk about looking externally. A lot of people think that if they could look ahead and sort out all the problems, then they wouldn't have any problems. You're spiraling now. You're contaminating this moment, worrying about what's going to happen in this gentleman's case 25 years ahead. He's worrying about that. It's contaminating his life, his family, his children, his health. He was telling me he lies awake at night doing sums. He's got a spreadsheet out. He's contaminating now. And find the Wu Wei balance. And he said to me, well, you mean I should forget about my pension? I'm saying, who
But that's
said
going
that?
to the other extreme.
Exactly.
And that's the human-centered mind taking you to the other extreme. You know, it's like the human-centered mind saying, you must have this, you must have that. You know, you need the full set. You need a full house of expectations about what you want. And then when you say, yeah, but actually that's not reality, or this is not necessary for having a perfect life, being contented, being happy. And then the human-centered mind just takes that and runs with it and goes to the opposite extreme. And it says, yeah, well, you know, you're telling me I've just got to give everything up then. I've just got to go and live on the streets, live on top of a mountain and forget consumerist society or forget what everyone says to me. But that's not the case.
No, it's well explained. And that's what Wu Wei is. If you can think about those two extremes that Alex has just explained, it's like we call it the emotional pendulum in our model. So it's either one extreme or the other extreme. Wu Wei is finding the center. And you can do this for yourself. When you have an extreme thought, do 2 lines, make 3 columns. Put one extreme thought on one side. So we're talking about perfect today. So this is where I normally get a client to do this when they come to me and they normally come with something like, I can't cope. That's one of the 3 lies. Remember the 3 lies? I'm not good enough. I can't cope. I'm unlovable. They normally say, I can't cope. So put that in one column. So do two lines, 3 columns. Put I can't cope in one column and then do the extreme opposite. And the extreme opposite is I want everything perfect. There's your 2 extremes. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're not careful, and the human-centered mind will love to swing between those 2 things, never satisfied, never being able to cope, always wanting to give up, always blaming yourself, blaming other people. Once you've got those 2 extremes, and then find the Wu Wei. Yeah. Find your center line. You've got your 2 extremes, find the center line. And this is why this is a spiritual teaching. This is for your Shen. This is for your authentic self. This is for your truth. You are already awesome. I can't make you awesome. No one can take that away from you. Look at your body. Look at your life. However you got here. I love that American mathematician that says, you know the odds of you being born? 400 trillion to 1 that you were even born, let alone watching this video. What's the odds on that? You are amazing. Why don't you just accept who you are? Use this power. I think it's like you've got a Ferrari. You've got a Ferrari and you're driving it around in reverse gear. Use the full gearbox and be everything that you want to be authentically, not by comparing yourself with other people or not waiting, oh, I can't wait till I retire. I can't wait till the children leave home. I can't wait till I leave this job. I can't wait till this. I can't wait till that. Yeah. You've got now. Yeah. Live in the now. This is the most important thing.
But I've listened to everything you've said, David. And it does make sense. I can see how it makes sense. However,
it's just
however, I've worked so hard. I've had such a hard life. I feel like the universe owes me something now. I believe I'm entitled to like a good run, a better life, a better future. Because I've had to put up with so much in the past, you just wouldn't believe it. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. What you've said applies to everyone else, but not to me, because you just don't understand how I've had to struggle in my life.
Crikey, I've heard that so many times. Have you ever said that to yourself? It's not fair. It's unjust. If only that hadn't have happened to me in the past.
Like the cosmic score sheet.
Exactly.
I've had lots of bad scores in life, and the universe owes me now.
I love that, Alex. I've never heard that before. It's like the cosmos has got a big ledger, and he goes, okay, one bad thing, I've got to even that up.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't work like that. That is not reality. I'm sorry. If you want that to be reality, that is your human-centered mind. If you think the universe is some kind of a scale that when you have a bad thing happen and then it's somebody else's job to make it right, who makes it right for you? Only you. You are the only one. Everything has been sent to you. This is why I call it a spiritual lesson. You have to learn the lesson. Remember, the spiritual lesson is when your current belief system is not aligned to the universal flow of energy. You've got to learn that lesson and change that lesson. Now, if you're believing that you're owed or you're entitled or your life isn't fair, then you're waiting again externally for someone else to put it right.
And that's not the Wu Wei.
Well, I even had a client who said that, and it sounds like she was treated tremendously unfairly as a youngster. And I said to her, just imagine a lightning struck this person and they changed their mind. They
The person who abused,
who treated her unfairly.
Yeah.
Just imagine a lightning came from the sky and hit this person. It changed their mind, and they realized in a flash the wrong that they'd done you. I'd been wronged. And just say that they realized, and then they came to you on their bended knees and they kissed your feet and they said, "Oh, please, please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry for all the wrong I've done for you." What changes? What changes in your life? How do you change? She said, "Well, I'd be better." I said, "How would you be better?" She said, "Well, I'd feel better." I said, "Why would you feel better?" And she said, "Well, because then they'll know. They'll know, won't they?" So what does that change in your life? All you're doing is saying, I will now change my belief. I will now think something different. Why don't you do that now?
Yeah.
Just think something different.
If you
It's
have
your
the
belief.
ability to release the I guess the expectation, or
You have the ability.
It's almost like the human-centered mind.
You have the ability.
Exactly, is setting up the equation. When this happens in my life, so when X equals Y, then I will feel better.
Exactly.
So whether it's when that person tells me they did wrong to me, I will feel better.
Yeah.
Or when I change careers and get that job of my dreams, then I will be fulfilled. Or when I finally reach some sort of enlightenment, which is going to come from external sources, then everything's going to be okay. It's the human-centered mind that's setting up these equations.
And that's a great way to describe it, Alex. And why don't you just change the equation around and say, I'll feel better, regardless of what they do. I will take responsibility for me to feel better, regardless of what other people do, say, how they live their lives, what they've done to me in the past 20, 30, 40 years ago, has no effect on you unless you want it to have an effect. This is a choice that you're making. Now, I'm not saying, please get this right, I'm not saying they didn't do wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying how it affects you right now is your choice. If it happened 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, the only effect it has on you now is being created by you. That equation that Alex has just showed you, if A or B or C equals happiness, then turn it around and say, I already have happiness. Regardless of what the because I am responsible for happiness. Don't wait. You are entitled to be happy
now,
and you are the creator of your happiness. You are the creator of your happiness. So own that. So Alex being devil's advocate there, and she's used two words I want you to be careful of. But when you say but, I understand what you're saying, or even if you're thinking it now, what you're saying, David, is I can go along with that, but in the middle of a sentence means forget what I've just said. It means you haven't accepted it. Then write down and think about and meditate on why you haven't accepted it. The second word is a little trick that people use. However is just a but. So when you're listening to these type of teachings, if you do not accept what I'm saying, if you think I've got it wrong, then form your case and write in. Say, David, I disagree with that bit. I think my life has seriously been affected by what happened to me 30 years ago, and I can't change it. I disagree with you. You can change it right now. today, as you're listening to this, you can change it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, David. Well, I hope that's given you plenty of food for thought and help you to avoid this idea, the perfection trap, because really life is now. Life is perfect now. We do have ups and downs.
We should have ups and downs.
But it's our choice now as adults to, as you said, find, own and change those core beliefs which are not serving you well, that are keeping you in the perfection trap, keeping you in the treadmill, keeping you wanting, striving, expecting. And so now is the time to step off and step out.
Can I just say one thing on that? Those core beliefs that Alex just mentioned, that you have to find the golden thread to find, they're really core beliefs. Make sure they are your core beliefs and not something you've inherited of someone else, family members, parents, siblings. Make sure they are your beliefs and you actually believe them. So remember, when you find a core belief, then make sure you've got the evidence and the reasoning to back it up. So when you stress tested, when I ask you the golden thread, why do you believe that? Why do you believe something? You tell me, because. I believe this, David, because. And then give me the reasoning. And that really will help you in your meditations. And I would think about doing that 5 or 10 minutes a day, just with a cup of tea, just have a piece of paper and write down what your core beliefs are.
And a lot of these beliefs are coming from childhood. Yes. So this questioning, gentle, compassionate, self-discipline questioning, and the meditation you're talking about, that's kind of inner child work as well, isn't it? Getting back, because it's the inner child that can be holding on to these ideas of what perfection is, what life should be like, how people should be, what should happen now. So it's about questioning, encouraging the inner child to release those long-held beliefs.
And I know we're not going to do the inner child. We're going to do a series that's on the inner child. But this is why I just wanted to mention that before we finish. Because a lot of these, when you start to really examine your beliefs, you'll find them like a childlike belief. Right and wrong, good and bad. Disney World, wouldn't it be nice?
Bunnies hopping around the field, everyone behaving nicely.
And so it's very important. Your child or your mind is not against you. It's got a fixed sense of how many times, if you've got children, how many times have you heard your child look at you and go, but it's not fair. A child has a very distinct idea of fairness, right and wrong, black and white. And so make sure that you got the Wu Wei. I've given you a little exercise, those 3 columns. Remember, one extreme, one side, the other extreme, the other side, and then find the Wu Wei and meditate on that and think about the Wu Wei to combat this not fair. It's very strong. Unfairness, injustice is very strong for the mind. It's almost like it feeds the mind. It loves to see things in black and white, how people should be, how you should be, what you should be doing at your age. Look at somebody else at your age. They've got more children than you. They're higher up. They're earning more money than you. Got a bigger car. Do not go into that comparing, because that's the human-centered mind. It loves doing these tricks and illusions. Don't fall for it. I'll leave you with one thing. Remember, you control your mind. Your mind does not control you. So take control of your mind. Your mind is not your enemy. You don't have to beat yourself up. You listen to it and question it. Compassionate self-discipline is the way forward.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. So if you have any comments or questions on the video, please post them below and we will always answer them for you. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.